All right. Our next speaker is Xiang from UIUC, and he's going to talk to us about their algorithm ClusType around effective entity recognition and typing by relation phrase-based clustering.
Thanks. I'm Xiang I'm a PhD candidate at UIUC. So today I'm going to introduce the entity recognition and typing problem, which is a problem that extensively studied by the NLP people. But we are looking for a pretty different angle. Think about that NLP people, they also usually just grab a paragraph or a document and then trying to say, how can I just fully pass the document and then understand each sentence, what is subjective, objective, and then figure out the entities. But we are assuming that we have access to a large amount of text corpus, and what is the new things we can do here. So people keep trying to find out an effective and efficient way to understand a text. They start break down the text corpus into a bag of words and compute the statistics of the words. And then they go on to, let's say, whether can we figure out the topics by doing topic modeling, and then we visualize the topics in a nice way. But you think about it, what is the natural way that people read the document? It's trying to figure out the entities, their types, and then the relations between the entities, and finally figure out the entire story about the document. So if we can have an automatic way to recognize the entities and their types, and then trying to say whether I can dive deeper, for example, look into the knowledge base and see what is happening about these entities, that would be pretty nice. Or you can think about doing entity recognition and typing can project the whole corpus into a multidimensional table where each column is the entity types, so that you can do a lot of interesting things, including structure, query analysis, or doing heterogeneous network analysis, answering the question like who are the leading researcher on a web search by doing like ranking of the author's notes in the network. So for people who are not familiar with entity recognition and typing, it's simply just recognizing the token spans of the entity dimensions from text and then trying to classify them into some predefined categories. For example, person or location for the news corpus, or protein or cells for the biomedical documents. And if we look back to the existing work about the NER problem, so NLP people have the traditional way. They design a lot of systems to doing this entity recognition and typing, but they usually work on just general types like person, location, organization, time, or event. So if you want to switch to a new domain, let's say Yelp or tweets, or any enterprise data, you have new types that you are interested in. You need to do some domain adaptation that require extra efforts, including human annotation. And training those models actually is kind of slow. So entity linking is another way that we can seek for help. But as we are interested in some pretty domain-specific corpus, actually we found out that the coverage of the entities in those corpus is pretty low, and the freshness is not guaranteed. So for example, if we look to the web corpus, only 50% of those linked entities, 50% of the entities mentions can be linked to the knowledge base. And in our experiments, we tried some domain-specific corpus like tweets or Yelp's review. Actually, over 90% of the entity mentions cannot be even linked to like Freebase. So we really need an automatic way to recognize the entities, the typed entities from the text. So our goal here is trying to leverage minimal linguistic assumption and minimal domain assumption. So we're trying to say, how about get rid of human supervision? We are not just taking nothing from the external world. We are still borrowing the knowledges from knowledge base and try to say we can recognize the entity dimensions and find out their types in an automatic way. So some of the existing work, including weak supervision methods, they assume that people already provide a small set of seeds, which are typed entities, and then they use either pattern-based bootstrapping method or label propagation methods, but they have pretty restrict assumption on the seeds. They need to be unambiguous seeds, and you need to be sufficiently frequent in the corpus. Otherwise, you are just giving some noise to the algorithms. Distant supervision actually is a pretty good direction to go. You leverage the entity information hidden in the knowledge base to reduce the small part of human supervision in the weak supervision setting. Here's the typical workflow for a distant supervision. So the first one is you are given a raw text corpus, and then you want to detect the entity dimensions from text in some way. And then you want to try to map as many of these entity dimensions to the knowledge base entities as possible. And if you link some of them to the knowledge base, you have a way to figure out their types. And this part of entity dimensions become the seeds. And you want to use these seeds through some bridges to finally propagate it to those unlinkable entity dimensions. That's the basic idea. And still a lot of challenges is here. The first one is most existing work, even in the distant supervision setting, they assume that the entity dimensions are somehow extracted in a high quality way, no matter, they don't even discuss about what is the exact domains that such kinds of entity recognizer can be working on. So most of these entity recognizers are trained on general domain corpus like news. So it's clean and it's grammatical, but what about you switch this, you try to use this recognizer on like tweets or Yelp reviews, something will just happen, and we will show the results later. And then such recognizer, they also depend on a variety of linguistic features. Those features actually need some heavy trainings, and it's also pretty depends on the domains of the training corpus. And finally, we are pretty interested in the specific and dynamic corpus, like tweets and Yelp reviews. And you see a lot of these entity dimensions actually don't follow the grammar, like in and out from the Yelp reviews. So the second one is name ambiguity. Just look at the name Washington. When people talk about the Washington State sport team, any kind of sport team in Washington State, they can refer to it as Washington. When you talk about like U.S. government or the capital city, you can also refer both of them as just Washington. And you know that they are actually referring to different entities, and these different entities are associated with different types. The third one is context sparsity. So the context pattern, no matter you are using relation phrases or relation patterns or whatever, you, as the bridges to propagate the types, you always face with those sparse context patterns or sparse relation phrases. For example, here, when you're trying to mention a tsunami devastate the Japan's northeast part, you can also describe it in the way that the ravaged or caused widespread devastation in. So some of them this way are pretty frequent in the corpus, but some of these way are pretty like personal saying, and it's very rare in the corpus. How can you just bridge all these synonymous phrases together? That's the third challenge. And our solution regarding these three challenges, it will be here. We have a domain agnostic phrase mining algorithm that are not only extract the candidate entity dimensions, but they're trying to jointly extract the relation phrases surrounding the entity dimensions altogether, and with minimal linguistic assumption and domain assumption. So in general, you can apply it to English. You can simply change the corpus and apply it to Arabic or Chinese. And for non-ambiguity problem, we are not simply merge the entity dimension with the same surface name. For example, you see this Washington in sentence A, another Washington in sentence B. You are not merging these two different objects as one node, but you are treating them separately. And third one is we're trying to mine the synonymous relation phrases co-occurring with the entity dimensions. That means that you are using these relation phrases as the bridges to propagate the types, but you also want to cluster them together and let's say make some of these sparse relation phrases can be belonging to some of the groups so that the propagation is more effective. So then we propose this relation phrase-based framework. And we are proposing a part-of-speech constraint phrase segmentation method, trying to parse the entire text corpus into entity dimensions, relation phrases. And then using these elements, we can construct this graph, where the graph captures several hypotheses we we're going to propose. And notice that the entity dimensions here are kept as individual elements or the nodes in the graph to be disambiguate. So then why doing clustering of these relation phrases should be done in a joint manner? That simply says the entity argument types of the relation phrases actually serve as very good features for clustering the relation phrases. And when you propagate these types, you actually are refining these entity types, and you are refining the type for the entity types as the arguments for the relation phrase. So then you can better cluster relation phrases after you refine these entity types. And this is a mutually enhancing process. If we look into the candidate generation process, we have two key criterions. One is the global significance scores of a phrase. The other one is the part-of-speech tag patterns. So the part-of-speech tag patterns actually easier to understand. You have the traditional, you have some general ways to define what is a relation phrases. You can think it's a single verb, a preposition, verb plus a preposition, or verb plus some part-of-speech tag, and then end it with an optional preposition. For the entity dimensions, you can simply define it as a consecutive number of single nouns. But the global significance score is trying to say, following such part-of-speech tag patterns, you actually will have extract a lot of noise altogether, and you are only interested in the top ones, which are pretty significant in the text corpus, or is pretty relevant to this text corpus. So we are proposing an algorithm that's trying to say, can I find these phrases by satisfying a significant score threshold while also satisfying our part-of-speech tag patterns. And from the bottom part, you can see that's the kind of segmentation results we can get. You see the red one shown as the relation phrases. In this case, you can see many verbs, single verb, and preposition. And you can also see the blue one shows the relation entity dimensions that we can find out. We compare this component with the NP trunker, which is trained on the general domain. And we found out that it performed much better when we doing that on the domain-specific corpus like Yelp and tweets. So with the candidate entity dimensions extracted, as well as their relation phrases are founded, we now have three types of objects on hand. We have the candidate entity dimension, and we have their surface names. And finally, we have the relation phrases. So how can we figure out their relations to each, their relations in terms of the data model to each other? So an important assumptions we put when we constructing the graph is the smoothness assumption, meaning that if the more the two objects are likely to share the same type, the larger the weight will be associated with their connecting edges. That's the principle we construct this graph. And when we construct such graph, we can answer the following three questions: how to model the exact type for each entity dimensions, and how to leverage the relation phrase to propagate the types, and finally, how to disambiguate the entity dimensions. So modeling the type for entity dimensions, we are looking at two signals. One is its type distribution of its surface name. In this example, you have the type distribution for the name Washington. It may be like 50% of state and 40% of referring as a government. And you also have the signal coming from the relation phrases in the neighborhood. Let's say in this example, the relation phrase is an allied of, and it also has a type distribution of, let's say, 70% it's a government. So leveraging both signals, we finally can figure out in this exact sentence, in this certain context, this Washington is referring as government instead of other types. The second one is about the relations between entity name and relation phrases. The general idea is that, as you can see in this example, the the entity names on the right side or the left side of a relation phrases, let's say serves up. Actually, the relation phrase provide a very strong type queue for deciding the types of the entity names. In this case, you see beers, wines, pizza, and cheese steak sandwich. All of these are appearing as the right argument for the relation phrases serves up. And then if you know that beers and wines and pizza in the knowledge base is food, it's very easy to guess that cheese steak sandwich is also food. That's the general idea. And finally, you want to disambiguate different entity dimensions. Let's say White House in this case. White House can be referred as a government or location. And if you look at their surrounding entity dimensions, if you see Rose Garden also mentioned surrounding this entity, this White House mentions, you are trying to say, oh, this White House is mentioned as a location instead of government. Or if you see like Obama or other relevant terms, you can guess it as government instead of location. So then, how to class the relation phrases jointly? We are using three signals: the string similarity, the context similarity, and the most importantly, the type signature of the entity arguments. And this is the key to bridge these two objects: the objects of clustering the relation phrases and the objects of the type propagation. So we formulate this jump propagation problem. It looks scary, but it can be solved by alternative minimization using the broad coordinate descent algorithm. And actually, the complexity is linear to the number of entity dimensions, number of the relation phrases. So here's the summary results when we're comparing these methods with other state-of-the-art entity recognition methods and its relevance. What I want you to pay attention is our performance on these two domain-specific corpus, which are the Yelp and the Twitter. We have a pretty good performance. It's over 45% enhancement on those two data sets. That's the power of our entity candidate generation as well as the disambiguation technique. We also compare with the traditional NER system on different corpus, including the general domain non-IT news corpus, as well as the two domain-specific corpus. So we still have a very large improvements in terms of the Stanford NER system. Some example here is trying to tell you that actually very sparse relation phrases can be jointly clustered with some frequent relation phrases together to form these synonymous relation phrase groups that validate our hypothesis. So to conclude that we have a principal way to leverage distant supervision for doing entity recognition and typing. And it's pretty domain independent and language independent. So we shared all the codes we have and want you to try it out and want you to help us to just improve this framework. Thanks.
Was there enough coffee before the break? Well, actually, I'll ask. I had two questions, but I'll take one of those offline. I was wondering about your results on sort of evolving kind of setups, Yelp, Tweet. You've been doing well, but initially, I mean, you have this condition on getting rid of the phrases that are not syntactically correct. Mm-hmm. How do you reconcile those two typically? I mean, won't it affect your result on sort of non-standard?
Yeah, that's a great question. So you are asking about whether our rules actually are, let's say, general enough to cover different kinds of corpus. So so our idea is that if you switch some specific domains, you actually can just decide some domain-specific rules for those relation phrases or entity dimensions. You can extend the libraries as you want.
Yeah. Right, makes sense.
Okay.
Right, thank you.